So today what we have here is a very special mouse. It's the X2F wireless gaming mouse from Pulsar. And what's special about it is that it's a prototype. So this thing is still not out in the wild yet. And spoiler alert, it's a really good mouse.
Sawa ka na ba sa unactivated Windows mo? Well, lucky you! Pinakabago mula sa cdkeyoffer.com. Windows 10 and Windows 11 activation codes. Legit, safe, at pinakamura. Madali lang umorder. Hanapin ang Windows version na gusto mo. Piliin ang preferred payment method. Wala pang 5 minutes, nagsisigil ka na para sa Windows mo. Marami na kaming natulungan.
Dati, sudden depressed ako. But now, I found the love of my life.
Dati, aimless and walang purpose ang life ko. But now, I'm a world-class Zumba instructor.
So, web developer ako and content creator for a YouTube channel. And ngayon, ganun pa rin ako pero activated na yung Windows ko.
Kaya kung naghahanap ka ng legit, mura, at original software,
Check out cdkeyoffer.com.
Check out cdkeyoffer.com.
check out cdkeyoffer.com.
So before we get into the review, just a small disclaimer. We got this thing from their beta testing program. We signed up for it. And I was one of the lucky few, 500 in total, who got a prototype to test. That beta testing program is more for testers, engineers, reviewers, gamers, and Pulsar is more looking for feedback for the final product. That was available publicly, and actually I personally signed up and not Hardware Sugar. So Pulsar did not reach out to us, and we're not obligated to release a video review. They just wanted feedback for the final product. So technically, I do get to keep the product, but it's not sponsored in any way whatsoever. We don't have any obligations to them. So on to the review. So Pulsar sent it to us straight from Korea inside a plastic Ziploc bag with just the mouse, the dongle, the 8K dongle, and the cord, and nothing else. So that really screams prototype. There's no packaging for it. There's no manuals. Just a link to their Discord server where fellow testers can discuss their findings here. The very first thing that I noticed actually is the super build quality and premium feel of the material, especially here at the sides where we're going to be holding it, and basically everywhere in the mouse. Nothing bends at all, nothing flexes, except of course for the clickers, but everything else is super solid. That's generally attributed to the carbon composite that this whole thing is made of. It's a 60-40 carbon composite, which means it's 40% carbon fiber and then 60% polycarbonate and nylon. And what you get is a super stiff, kind of lightweight material that almost feels kind of too premium for a mouse. So another thing, of course, is the design. It's very reminiscent of the, off-white branding, off-white design, which is this kind of bold and futuristic, but sort of minimalist, just contrasting design, which I particularly like very much. Actually, speaking of the design, my first worry about this was that since the design is right where you're making contact with your fingers, your hand, I was kind of worried that the white parts, white design, would eventually peel off or get discolored due to, just normal use. But kudos to them, the finish is absolutely fine. It looks practically still brand new. And just for context, as of publishing this video, I have been using this mouse for around 2.5 months for gaming, for work. Basically, I daily drove this thing non-stop, and you can't really see any signs of wear. So again, kudos to them. That's a really good finish. So for the buttons, we have the left and right click, mouse click, of course the encoder here, and then 2 side buttons, which is very nice. It's something that you don't really see often, especially with fingertip mice. And basically that's it. So for specs, it features the XS1 Pulsar sensor. It has 8K polling capability with the 8K dongle. And it features, I don't know if you can see here, the blue shell pink dot switches, which are mechanical switches, not optical. Speaking of the switches, these might be the most satisfying, most tactile switches I've ever clicked in my entire life. And speaking of the build quality for this, the clicks and the combination of the switch and the material for the clickers, they basically still feel like they're brand new, which is amazing for a gaming mouse. And just to give some sort of background regarding that aspect, I have been gaming for 20 years. My first serious mouse was the MX Master. And for the longest time, my grip was a palm grip. It's not until I've come to enjoy fast-paced FPS games. And the first gaming mouse that I've used for quite a very long time was the Death Adder. And as you can notice, those two are very different mice than this one. And then up until recently, I got into the hype of super lightweight, super premium performance mice. And I got myself an ROG Keris 2 Ace, which I have been using for the past year. Still, that's a very normal looking mice compared to the X2F. But with that mouse, I've adapted to the claw grip. So I've been using my palm less and less over the years. So I'm saying that because with this mouse, you're basically stuck with the fingertip grip. You can't use any grip with this that involves your palm. And if you've been a palm grip or claw grip user, there will be a slight learning curve if you're going to be using this. So that's just some, caveats or some asterisk if you're going to be using this. So going back to the physicals of the mouse, there is a slight contour here where your fingertips will be, where basically your grip will be. And it kind of helps with the ergonomics for this mouse because there's just this dip where your grip will naturally settle in. Looking at the bottom of the mouse, we can see that there's basically a reduced casing here, exposing the PCB a bit, and we'll get to that later. Let's talk first about these skates. So these skates, they came pre-attached, and basically there's some recessed mounting points for these. So you have 5 total skates, 4 corners, and then 1 for the sensor. All of these have recessed mounting points. While for this specific mouse, it looks neat, that is certainly something that the enthusiasts won't be happy about because you don't have a lot of customization options with this kind of mounting. Luckily, however, as of April 23, Pulsar has already announced that the final product for this would have bigger skates as well as customizable ones. So with the final product, you won't be getting them pre-attached. You get to choose. So other than that, battery life is great. It has a 200 mAh battery inside. And for basically the 2.5 months that I've been reviewing and using this as a daily driver, I have been using it at 8K polling rate. And even going 99% wireless with this, I've only had to charge it for about 5 times during that whole testing period. So great battery life on this. Oh, and before I forget, at the very bottom of the mouse, you can see that there's a dip switch that acts as the power button and then a DPI switch. Clicking this cycles through the available DPI profiles from around 200 to 12,800. Personally, me, I just stick with 800 to 1200 DPI. But you have that option for you. Now, clicking the DPI switch and the left click button cycles through the available polling rate. So that's from 125 Hz to 8000 kHz. So basically for the whole review, I just went and stuck with 8000 kHz as the highest polling rate. And for something as premium as this, and for gamers out there, you also want the highest available to you. So for performance, I really didn't have a very consistent way of measuring or benchmarking this thing. We lack the proper tools and proper knowledge to accurately measure that. So what I did was played 100 matches of CS2. So 50 competitive matches with my ROG Keris 2 Ace. And on a different day, another 50 using the X2F mouse. So for context, my highest rank in CS2 is MGE. And using the ROG Keris 2 Ace for the first 50 matches, I averaged around 45 to 47% headshot rating. I primarily use rifles. And then jumping to the X2F, for the first few matches, there was a 40% increase in the HSR. For the very first time in my life, I got an HSR of over 80%. And then playing the rest of the matches, it normalized to 45 to 47%, my usual HSR. So in conclusion, it's not going to significantly make you better in your game. You still have to get good. So in summary, this is a really good mouse. I'm going to continue using this as my daily driver, as my gaming mouse for the foreseeable future. I'm going to buy the new one when this eventually breaks. And I'm excited for what Pulsar has in store for the final release of this mouse. This is probably the best mouse I've ever used in my entire life. And do I recommend it? As a prototype, this still has a lot of room to grow. So for example, the software for this is very bare bones. And of course, we expect in the final product, this is going to have a more robust software solution. I kind of want it to be just a little bit lighter. Plus, the scrolling for this is kind of noisy. I don't think you're going to pick up, but let's see if you pick it up. I don't know if you got that, but it's kind of ratchety, it's kind of clicky. But again, those are very nitpicky things. This is a revelation for me. This is a really good mouse. And the question is, do I recommend this? Well, if you're primarily a fingertip grip user, this is a really good mouse. You might hate the fact that it's on the heavier side, but if you want a solid and premium quality mouse, this is going to be one of the top choices for that niche. However, if you're truly a palm or claw grip user and you need your palm as a tactile point to control your mouse, you're going to have to accept the fact that you're going to be relearning a lot of stuff if you're going to use this. On that note, it's very good to see that a company like Pulsar has a testing program like this where they lessen the barrier to entry for community feedback. If you check their Discord server, there is a bunch of topics and a bunch of messages giving feedback, giving their experience, giving issues and points to address. And Pulsar indeed has been listening and are promising to make changes as early as now for their final product. I just hope that more companies in our hobby and has that emphasis for the importance of what your fans or your community has to say. And so, having said that, this is a very good mouse. I'm very excited to see the final product, and we highly recommend that you keep this on your radar if you're looking for your next gaming mouse. Thank you for watching.